we have this page that has been password protected. So this is the admin landing page. It's been password protected. So if I go over here to server behaviors and I double click, you can see it says restrict access to page, and it's going to point back to the login page. So file new file. Let's make a new PHP page. Again, these pages in here are dynamic pages, which means they communicate with the database. These are static pages up here. These are dynamic pages. Well, actually, technically, XSLT and XML files are sort of quasi-dynamic pages as well. But these pages talk to databases. PHP and JSP are open source free. The rest of the pages you have to pay a licensing fee for. So let's save this file. Now, we're going to save this file in the same folder as the admin folder. So we're just going to call it, well, what we're going to call it is login page. And it makes total sense to put the title of the page. Login user. Okay, so this information, anytime you're submitting information to the database, querying, searching, deleting, updating, it has to be done inside of a form. So as an example, we need to go to insert, form, and insert a form. That puts this red form here. Okay, now in the property palette, this particular form, if you select the tag here, this form does not have an ID. We're going to give the form an ID by calling it the login form. So let's just simply call it login form, because that's technically what it is. It's the login form. Now, all the content for this login form is going to be inside the form tag. So if you look at the code here, you will see, here's my body, here's my form tag. So the content is going to go between these two tags right here. Okay, so let's put in the name of our field names. So we're going to insert, I'm going to show you a slick way not to put the title. We're going to put the title right inside the form itself, right inside the text fields. So we're going to select this content and go to insert form, text field. So we're going to need two text fields. We're going to need a text field for email and a text field for password. We're simply going to call this email. Hit the return key and call this one insert form text field and call this password. Now, that's what the database is called too, so the database will basically set this up correctly if you do it this way. Now, we're going to take these two fields here by selecting these two fields inside the form. We're going to hit Command T, Quick Text Editor. Now, here's the information for the form here. So we're going to go to code, and I just want to share with you the form information right here. So between this paragraph and this paragraph, we're going to put a field set. So Command T, we're going to type in FIELD set, field set. So we're going to surround that content with field set. Okay, so this input value and this input value is inside my field set. So now we're going to hit the return key and go back to the insert menu, insert form button. We're going to call this login. Now, we don't want this to say submit. We want this to say login. So property palette value, double click, we're going to put in login now. Right, so let's create some basic CSS here for our form. So inside the CSS palette, we're going to click here. We're going to select the tag for the field set field set. Select the tag, make a rule. Select the tag, come over here and based on these choices, new CSS rule. We're going to go to rule for field set when field set is inside of login form. We're going to hit OK. So let's basically define the font for the field set. We're going to make this Tacoma 14 pixels. We're going to make the box dimensions be, let's make this be 300 pixels wide with 10 pixels of padding. And want to put this in the center of our document. So we're going to drop it down from the top. Let's drop it down from the top 45 pixels. Let's align it to the right automatically and to the left automatically. Therefore, it's automatically in the center. Also, just because we can, let's go back to that field set tag, rule, field set rule, double click, and let's give this a border. So border, let's give this a solid 1 pixel, and let's make this brown color. So if we go to live view right now, by clicking here, we can see what this form is going to look like. So there's our form. Okay, now let's spruce it up a little bit here. Let's make it look a little nicer. So one of the things we can do here, we're going to put our cursor right here. We're going to type in login now, hit the return key. Now, this word here, login now, we want to select that content, select the information, Command T, quick text editor. We're going to call it legend, Legend, which is an HTML tag. The legend tag is really cool to use with the field set. Okay, so what just happened here? That needs to go here. So this is part of the legend tag. Now the legend tag doesn't have a rule, so we're going to select the tag. We're going to select the legend tag. Oh, somehow I lost it. Let's do this again. So Command T, Legend, return key once, return key twice. So here's the legend tag. So we're going to select the tag, and based on these choices, make a rule. Make a rule for the selected tag. So this is going to be the legend tag inside of a paragraph, inside the field set, inside the form called login form. We're going to hit OK. So let's make our legend tag. Let's make our legend tag be 22 pixels. Let's give it the color. Let's make the color be the same color we picked before. And let's hit OK. Now, this is what the legend tag does. Again, if you go to live view or publish it to your server. So if we go to live view right now, how cool is that? So it says login now up on top here. So this is what the page will look like right now when we go to live view. So this is the page with no live view. This is the page with live view. Again, live view can be used in place of posting it to the server for testing purposes. Now, important step about live view. Dreamweaver doesn't render the pages 100% correctly. You always want to publish inside of a browser window. But for demonstration purposes, live view in this particular case works totally fine. Okay, so now the user is not going to know what fields this is because we didn't put a title for the field. So what I prefer to use is an HTML5 tag called placeholder. Placeholder identifies the field name. Then when the user clicks the field, the placeholder text disappears. So therefore, it's not going to interfere with any kind of validation script that you may have. Now, obviously, the login now form is not going to have a validation field because we're simply logging in. We're not registering. We're not making a new file, new form. We're logging in. So here's how we can do this. We select the field. Now, this is going to be similar to this in code mode. So we select the field. We go to code. Now, for those of you that think code is scary, I pre-selected the field first, so it puts my selection right here. We're going to click right past the quotation mark. We're going to hit the space bar. up pops code hints, hints of code, code hints. We're going to type in the word place as in placeholder and hit the return key. Placeholder is going to equal email. Okay, now we're going to come down here to the password field. We're going to hit the space bar and the same thing. We're going to type in placeholder and hit the return key. Placeholder, we're going to put in password. Again, this is going to be the title of the field. Therefore, especially for smartphone and small devices, I don't want to clog up the system with a bunch of text that I don't need. So if you go to design mode, right now you can't see anything because you have to see this in either publishing it to the server or I have to hit live view. So if we hit live view right now, you can see that right here it says email. Right now it says password. So if I click this, the email disappears. If I click password, password disappears. So I want to type in my email address. So you type in your email at email.com. Then you type in your password. Now, when you type in your password, if you want to make this more professional looking, we don't want to see the person's password as you're typing in here. Here's a little trick. You simply select the password field, go to the property palette, and select password. Now what that's going to do for you is when you now go to live view and select password and type in, you'll get black dots. Pretty cool. Now, before we tie it to the MySQL database under server behaviors, let's just do one more aesthetic thing here. We're going to select the field set. Select field set. We're going to come down here to add property. We're going to make these corners rounded corners. So we click add property. We come over here and we type, clicking right here, we type in border hyphen radius. Now, this is a feature for CS5.5. You have to do this by hand inside the code because CS5.5 has this little interface here. So if I click right here, we're going to make this border radius be 18 pixels. Okay, so now if I go to live view, you'll see it's a rounded corner. Pretty cool. So it makes the form look very, very professional. Okay, now we can go back and make changes to that. So we can go back here. So we can let's make the top left 18 pixels, the top right be 0. In fact, let's make this more dramatic. Let's make this 25 pixels, top left, top right 0, bottom right, let's make that 25 pixels, and bottom left, let's make that 0. Therefore, we have an interesting looking form. So if I go to live view, I have something that looks like this. Pretty cool. It's a nice HTML feature. Now, we haven't tied this to the server behaviors to the database to log in. We're going to do that next. So we go to server behaviors based on these choices. So very important step here. Right now, this is not a dynamic page. It's simply a HTML form page. There's no code in here to talk to the database. We haven't done that yet. We're about to do that right now. So we go to server behaviors, hit the plus symbol. Based on these choices, we're going to go to user authentication. And based on these choices, we're going to login user. Okay, now login user. Dreamweaver is smart enough to know that this information is correct, but the rest you have to fill in. And it's very, very simple. We're going to select my connection file, which is inside my connections folder. We're going to select the admin table, and the rest you have to do yourself. Username is going to be tied to what? Username is going to be tied to the person's email address. Correct. Password is going to be tied to the person's password. If login succeeds, go to the index page. If login fails, stay on the login page. Now, part of my $39 premium service is we can write custom scripts to basically, if the person, say, tries 3 attempts, it'll lock them out for 5 minutes if somebody doesn't get the correct password. Also, how to create a forget password form, which is not included in this free series. So I hit OK. Now, what that did here, that created the code to log onto the server. So here's all my PHP MySQL code to log onto the server. So now this page has to be on the server. So I'm going to go and upload this to the server. So Command-Shift-U, okay, dependent files, yes, because we need to upload the connections folder. So dependent files, yes. Okay, now if I go to the index page, keep in mind the index page is password protected. So I'm going to publish the index page. I'm going to go to File, Preview Browser, and publish inside of Firefox. So Firefox is going to say testing server, yes. Dependent files, no. I already put the dependent files up with the login forms. I don't have to repeat that. So I can say dependent files, no. So this brings us to the login page. So if I put in the email address and I put in the password and I hit login now, I don't want to remember the password. So it says, welcome Tom to the admin section. Pretty cool, very, very cool. I want you to understand how the software is thinking and why this worked. So let's go back to Dreamweaver for a second. Now, very important step here. Let's understand how this page is functioning. This page has restricted access to page. Restricted access to the page. So what's happening here is that this page, you can't get to this page until you log in. So restrict access to the page is pushing it back to the login page. Once the person logged in and the information is correct, it's going to take us back to this page. Therefore, on this page, my record set called admin has a session variable tied to the email address, which is a session variable. Now, I built a lot of custom applications, so I kind of get ahead of myself in my previous video. This, if you want this to work seamlessly inside of Dreamweaver, this must be called _capital username, because restrict access page has that code embedded in it. If you call this whatever you want to, if you call this my var, then you have to basically put my var in the restrict access page, which is a big hoop jump you don't have to deal with. So to keep it simple here, simply make sure that this email address is going to a session variable called _username. Incidentally stands for Macromedia. Macromedia, the company that wrote these scripts back about 10-15 years ago. So if you want to keep it consistent, make sure this is changed to _capital username, camel cased. Okay, so what's happening here is that this record set has been filtered. Now, if you didn't have a record set, or if it wasn't filtered properly, then what would happen here, it would just say, welcome to the admin section, it would not welcome the user. So this is a very important step. So two things have to be part of this page. I have to have a record set to greet the user, and I have to have restrict access to page server behavior, which again, we did going to server behaviors, user authentication, restrict the access to the page. So without these two things in place, the user would not be greeted, and that wouldn't push it back to the login page. The login page pushes back to the index page. Index page is password protected. So very, very important step here. Now, in addition to this, we're going to hit the return key because I want to log out user. So we can do the same thing. We can say plus symbol server behavior based on these choices. We're going to go to user authentication and log out user. So when the user logs out, we're going to go back to the login page. So I save the file, I upload the page. So I don't have to publish in a browser window. I can simply upload the page. Command-Shift-U, Control-Shift-U, Macintosh. Dependent files, no. Therefore, when I go back to my browser and I refresh the page, now have log out. So it's saying, welcome Tom to the admin section and log out. log out takes us back to the form. So if you were to log in with a new user, so let's change Tom's email address to Jenny's email address. Put in the password. And don't save the password. So once you put a new user information, and I hit login now, I don't want to say this, it's going to say new user. So therefore, I have two users inside my MySQL database, one for Ginny, one for Tom. So basically, you can greet the person when they log in, that I highly suggest that you put the logout feature. Now, in our next series of videos, we're going to be building the products table. We're going to be building the category table. So very exciting, very cool stuff. This is the basis for all dynamic websites, from e-commerce to Facebook to any kind of Amazon.com. It all has the same foundation. So stay tuned.